A very good morning to all of you. I welcome you all to Sarkari. So in this video, we'll be taking up all the important articles for the UPSC Civil Services examination. And this is going to be for the Sunday's edition, that is 9th of April 2023. So let's quickly start with our today's analysis. So KCR absent, Prime Minister says that opposition is hit by the Supreme Court's view on plea against the probe. So let's see what here is the issue about. So Prime Minister, he took a dig at the opposition parties saying that they have been jolted by the Supreme Court's refusal to entertain their appeal to stop the alleged misuse of the central agencies. So opposition feels that these central agencies, they are being misused by the center, and they have appealed regarding this thing, but the Supreme Court has refused to entertain such types of appeals. So that is the issue about. And here, when we're talking about the central agency, so basically the opposition is pointing towards the misuse, what they feel that they are being misused. They're talking about Enforcement Directorate, CBI. So here we need to be clear with the difference between what is the difference between CBI and Enforcement Directorate. And obviously that would be pointing towards knowing their nitty-gritties. So that is important from the examination perspective for us. So 16th Finance Panel, it will be constituted in November. Yesterday, we had a look at this news in Financial Express, so that's a repeat. So here, some important details were the recommendations, were the term of reference of the 15th Finance Commission. The chairman we know is N.K. Singh. So all of that is also very important. And apart from that, knowing about the constitutional article, so here Article 280 of the Constitution talks about the Finance Commission, and it is appointed, or we can say it is constituted every 5 years. So all those details are very important for us. And this would be for the period beginning 2026-27. So these are some of the details. The train to Kashmir Valley under the Bharat Gaurav scheme. So this scheme, what are the provisions? What are the objectives of it? They are important for us to know. So here, one route has been started, which is to Kashmir Valley. So the package, it will begin on 11th of May, and the train, it originates from Coimbatore. So tourists, they can board it at Erode, and these are the places from which you can board the train. So the details of the scheme has not been mentioned here, so you can find out more about the Bharat Gaurav scheme. So Supreme Court says that trials, they can be transferred only in exceptional cases. So declining the petition to transfer a case out of the West Bengal. So the top court had said that the power to transfer the cases, they should be used sparingly and only when justice was apparently in grave peril. So ये basically एक condition है या सर्कमस्टेंसेस है जिसके अंडर केस को दूसरे स्टेट में ट्रांसफर किया जा सकता है, एंड सुप्रीम कोर्ट इज सेइंग कि इसको इतना ज्यादा रेगुलरली और इतना फ्रीक्वेंटली यूज नहीं किया जाना चाहिए. सो दिस कोर्ट हैज अलाउड ट्रांसफर्स ओनली इन द एक्सेप्शनल केसेस में इट इज पॉसिबल, एंड पहले भी एक्सेप्शनल केसेस में ही इसको अलाउ किया गया है, कंसिडरिंग द फैक्ट दैट ट्रांसफर्स दे मे कास्ट अननेसेसरी aspersions on the judiciary and the prosecution agency. So obviously इससे regarding कुछ concerns भी हैं, so that's why only under exceptional cases this has been allowed previously as well. So unnecessary shifting of the cases would affect the morale of the state judiciary and the prosecution agency. So जो morale है इसके ऊपर negative impact होगा अगर cases को very frequently they would be shifted or transferred out of a particular state. The Supreme Court is going to hear a petition regarding protecting the copyright of the live streamed cases. So usko kaise protect kiya jayega? Supreme Court is scheduled to hear this on Monday. It is a petition which is seeking the protection of the copyright of the proceedings beamed live on the web through YouTube. So YouTube पे आप judicial proceedings live देख सकते हो. So उससे regarding है कि आप कैसे copyright उनका protect करोगे. So 2018 judgment में in the Swapnil Tripathi case, the Supreme Court had given the green signal for live streaming of the top court's proceedings and safeguarding them from any misuse. Obviously, आप उनको misuse नहीं कर सकते हो because now they are available on YouTube. And यहाँ पे हमारे लिए केस का नाम भी important हो जाता है because it's a very important decision. So 2018 में judgment आई and the name of it is Swapnil Tripathi case. So it is related to approving the live streaming of the top court's proceedings. And the court has also said earlier that it was working on a self-contained, self-reliant ecosystem to live stream the Supreme Court's proceedings, even as the top court is responded to criticism about the lack of safeguards by the petitioner. So petitioners का कहना ये भी है कि there are certain like lack in the safeguards. So ये कुछ challenges and drawbacks कुछ highlight किए गए हैं. So CGI is like already observed that it is always easy to criticize others and it is always easy to throw a stone at somebody. So you tell us what are the modalities which can be followed to live stream. So do you want live streaming of court proceedings to be stopped? So these were the words of CGI. So President Draupadi Murmu, she becomes third president to fly a sortie on a Sukhoi fighter jet. So she was there, Indian Air Force Sukhoi 30 Mk1 fighter aircraft as the Tejpur Air Force Station in Assam. So she is the third president and the second woman president to undertake such a sortie. So Tejpur Valley becomes important and it is there in the state of Assam. And after that, she also had a briefing. So she expressed satisfaction on the operational preparedness of the Indian Air Force. So these are some of the updates. And she also visited INS Vikrant and interacted with the officers and sailors on board the aircraft carrier, which was commissioned in last September. So this was a visit in March. Moving forward. So framed rules under the Right to Health Bill in Rajasthan are the earliest activists. They are demanding for this thing. And apart from that, हम basically जो भी important provisions है, जो basically एक ये topic of debate भी start हो रहा है कि whether we should have such type of bill at pan-India level or not. So hospitals that did not get the concessions or the government funds, they will be kept out of the purview of this act. And apart from that, अभी demand ये हो रही है कि जो rules हैं वो जल्दी से जल्दी बनाए जाए क्योंकि अभी जो protest भी चल रहे थे they have been withdrawn. So moving forward on this thing. So CSI scientists, they find rare earth deposits in Anantapur. So what are rare earth deposits or rare earth elements? They have been found in Anantapur district in Andhra Pradesh. And it is the National Geophysical Research Institute of India. It's a council of scientific and industrial research facility in Hyderabad. They have reported such finding. And so जो rare earth elements है या फिर metals हैं वो बहुत important part है of industrial sector, of the space sector, and apart from that imaging हो गया, aerospace हो गया, defense में बहुत ज़्यादा important role play करते हैं. So examples of rare earth elements includes lanthanum, cerium, and then you have praseodymium, neodymium, yttrium, we have hafnium, tantalum, niobium, zirconium, and scandium. So these are some examples of the rare earth elements. So why are they named so is the reason key in terms of their abundance or quantity, they are not less, but it is difficult to extract them economically from inside the earth. So that's why they are named as rare earth elements. So you need to be clear with this thing. So even the rare earth elements, they are also used in making permanent magnets, which have essential use in devices like smartphones, computers, jet aircrafts, and other products. So definitely their importance is very high. Coming to the world page, North Korea says that it tested another underwater nuclear attack drone. So because South Korea or USA, they are having their military drills. So that's why North Korea bhi kuch na kuch kar raha hai, and they have tested another underwater nuclear capable drone, and they've also carried out the launch of intercontinental missiles. So intercontinental ballistic missiles ka testing karte rehte from time to time. And so Malaysian Prime Minister vows to protect the rights in South China Sea. And we know about the assertions specifically in South China Sea by China, and जो 9 dash line है जो China का कहना है कि all the area territory falling within 9 dash line belongs to China. So इसकी वजह से बाकी countries की rights भी violate होती हैं, and that's the issue there. So Tsai's US visit prompts military drills by China in the Taiwan Strait. So ये एक another issue of debate बना हुआ है जहाँ पे कुछ ना कुछ developments रोज हो रही हैं. So Taiwanese president pledges to work with the US and other like-minded countries in the face of continued authoritarian expansionism. So this is obviously pointing towards China, and Taiwan says that 9 Chinese warships and 71 military aircraft detected around the island by Saturday, 4 p.m. So because we are seeing कि Taiwan and USA में कुछ ना कुछ चलता रहता है, their closeness is increasing, so that's why China थोड़ा अनरेस्टलेस हो रहा है ऑन दिस थिंग. एंड ऑब्वियसली चाइना नहीं चाहता है कि किसी कंट्री का रोल या इंटरफेरेंस इंक्रीज हो इन ताइवान. सो दैट इज द रीजन बिहाइंड सच डेवलपमेंट्स ऑन द चाइना फ्रंट. So high level meetings of the officials from Nepal and China, they'll be discussing the existing bilateral ties between the two countries in cooperation and deliberate on the ways to further expand and consolidate their cooperation in various areas like trade promotion, where they would be talking and holding discussions, investment and connectivity pe how they can work. So it is important for India ki kya development ho rahi hai at this front. Coming to the science page. So in a pursuit of a magic number, physicists, they have discovered new uranium isotopes. So while studying the atoms of heavy elements, physicists in Japan, they have discovered previously unknown isotope of uranium with atomic number 92 and mass number 241. That is, they have found uranium 241. So the arrangement of protons and neutrons in an atomic nucleus, they have to follow some rules. And these rules are based on the nuclei's property and structure. So talking in general, an atom's mass, it is slightly lower than the sum of the masses of protons, neutrons, and electrons. And systematically measuring the mass of uranium and its neighborhood elements yields essential nuclear information to understand the synthesis of such heavy elements in explosive astronomical elements. So they did some experiments, and apart from that, so this is the recent discovery as far as uranium-241 is concerned. So prior infections, they are driving the dengue virus evolution in India. So जो पहले infections हो चुके हैं उसकी वजह से इसमें भी कुछ evolution देखने को मिल रहा है. And several lines of evidence it points to the interlinked dengue evolution driven by the underlying population level natural immunity जो develop हो गई है in the population because कभी ना कभी at some point of time उनको डेंगी फीवर हुआ होगा, so उसकी वजह से we are seeing some evolution. And talking about the vaccine efficiency also, so the analysis, it is based on 184 whole genome dengue sequences. So as per that, a study was done, and let's have a look at case के क्या results या क्या findings रहे. So people with the prior infection, they are protected from the reinfection by the same serotype. So same serotype से they cannot again get reinfected अगर उनको एक बार infection हो चुका है, but a different serotype they can cause a second infection. So that's very clear. And second infection generally causes more severe disease. Third result is that protection against the virus that is identical to the one that caused the first infection lasts for a long time. But viruses that are a bit look-alike of the serotype that has caused the first infection, they have greater ability to cause severe diseases. So both important findings we can say. And the dominant immune selection pressure, it has led to the emergence of a unique Indian dengue lineage, that is DENV4ID belonging to serotype 4. And this DENV4ID lineage, it is dominant in South India, and it is responsible for about 50% of the infections. And most of the dengue virus evolution, it happens in E gene, and evolution, it is driven primarily due to interaction with the host immune system. And as the current Indian lineages, they are highly divergent from those which are used in all major vaccines. So there can be significant reduction in the vaccine efficacy. So इसकी वजह से definitely vaccine की efficacy पे impact हो सकता है. And the vector is the Aedes aegypti mosquitoes. They can carry any of the 4 dengue viruses serotypes. So the vector is Aedes aegypti mosquito, and you can see कि identification के लिए they have these white strips. So उससे आपको पता चल सकता है कि it is a dengue mosquito या Aedes aegypti mosquito. So obese people, they have higher risk of autoimmune diseases. So evidence has suggested that जो obese individuals hai, they are at higher risk of developing autoimmune diseases such as type 1 diabetes हो गया. And there's a connection between this key metabolic overload that suppresses the immunoregulation and induces inflammatory responses. Thereby, it increases the risk of autoimmunity. And so talking about Ramsar sites, so these are wetlands of global importance, and they are called Ramsar sites after the city. So Ramsar, it is a city in Iran where the treaty on these wetlands, it was signed. So it is also called as a Ramsar Convention. So India mein there are 75 Ramsar sites. 14 are in Tamil Nadu. So highest are in Tamil Nadu, followed by Uttar Pradesh, where we have 10 of them, and including 3 added last year. So जो 3 latest last year add किए गए थे in Tamil Nadu is the Karikili Bird Sanctuary. We have Palakarnai Marsh Reserve Forest and the Pichavaram Mangroves. So the spotted billed pelican, it is seen in all these places. So that's additional information. तो रिसेंटली हमने देखा कि चाइना ने जो इंडियन टेरिटरी इनसाइड अरुणाचल प्रदेश वहां पे कुछ एरियाज को फिर से रीनेम किया है. सो ऑब्वियसली दैट इज well within Indian territory, so they can't do this thing. But let's see कि इसमें और क्या important चीजें हैं for us to discuss here. So why has it standardized the names of more places in Arunachal Pradesh? What has been India's reaction to this move? How will it impact the relations? And has China hardened its stand on the border dispute? So have such standardization moves happened before or not? So ये कुछ questions हैं जिनके answers हम find out करने की कोशिश करेंगे. So सबसे पहले is what are the places which are on the list? So 11 places को rename किया गया है for public use in Mandarin, Tibetan and English, and these includes 5 mountain peaks, 2 more populated areas, 2 land areas and 2 rivers. So इनको rename किया गया है by China. And of all of these 11 sites, they are on Indian territory, and southernmost it is close to Itanagar. So sari Indian territory ke andar hai in Arunachal Pradesh, and the Chinese government, they have referred to the location of the sites as Zangnan or South Tibet, which is how it refers to Arunachal Pradesh. So Arunachal Pradesh ko they often refer it to as South Tibet. China claims as much as 90,000 square kilometer in the eastern sector of India-China boundary, covering the entire state. So ये China का claim है, and so there's another border dispute हम बोल सकते हैं in the eastern sector with China. So क्या ये पहली ऐसी exercise है of renaming attempt? No, this is not the first one. This is the third time China is issuing the names for places in Arunachal Pradesh, and it is definitely seen as provocative by India, and one that has coincided with periods of strains in the relations. So 2017 में first list of standardized names issue की गई थी of 6 places in Arunachal Pradesh, and second list issue की गई थी in December 2021, more than a year into the crisis sparked by the China's multiple transgressions across the line of actual control. And the second list, it coincided with new border law passed by the Chinese government that called for various Chinese civilian and military agencies to take steps to safeguard the Chinese territory, including through such administrative measures. So ये उनका मानना है, and अभी third list issue की गई है. So this is not the first time that it is happening. And why is China doing this? So as with the 2 previous cases were similar cases, so India has definitely rejected the Chinese announcement. And Arunachal Pradesh, it is and it has been and it will always be an integral and inalienable part of India. So जो attempts हैं to assign invented names, it will not alter the reality. So अगर आप places को rename कर दोगे तो उससे reality change नहीं हो सकती है. This is what India says. And so the move from Beijing, it points to the hardening of its stand on the territorial disputes, which are now seen less as matters to be resolved diplomatically and bilaterally, but as questions of China's sovereignty. तो जो हमारा ऑलरेडी बाउंड्री डिस्प्यूट चल रहा है चाइना के साथ, उस पर क्या इम्पैक्ट होगा ऐसी एक्सरसाइजेस का? So though this is a symbolic gesture that have little real impact on ground पे इसका कोई real impact नहीं होगा at the same time, but it also does reflect कि how the situation along the borders, which is described by India as stable but unpredictable, is the most concerning since the normalization of ties between India and China in 1988, when they agreed to shelve the differences and maintain peace along the boundary. So 1988 में we had this agreement. We will maintain a peace at the boundary, and this is obviously between India and China. So India obviously जो border situation है with China, हम उसको we refer it by the term stable but unpredictable. Stable भी है, but at the same time it is unpredictable also. So that is obviously most concerning. And apart from that, Eastern Ladakh maybe we are also having issues. So Aksai Chin एक another area of dispute है, and Eastern sector में China claims as much as 90,000 square kilometer in Arunachal Pradesh. Western sector में India sees China as occupying as around 38,000 square kilometer Aksai Chin में. So Beijing, however, it has been vocal about its Arunachal claims, and its officials, they have said any settlement would require India to give up its territory in the east, which is a departure from the Deng suggestion and an unthinkable prospect for any Indian government, obviously. So that's obviously not going to be the reality, what China believes or what it expects to be. So why have the key oil producers, they have taken this decision to cut the output of oil? So recently OPEC plus ने decision लिया है, and उसके बाद immediately the next very day in the capital market we saw crude oil prices shooting up again, क्योंकि obviously demand ज़्यादा होगी, supply कम होगा, तो prices increase होंगे. So does this decision have the approval of the OPEC or not? So यहाँ पे पहला question यही आता है, OPEC और OPEC plus में क्या difference है? So जो major oil producing countries है, that includes Saudi Arabia, Iraq, United Arab Emirates as well as Russia. So इन सब ने oil production में cut announce किया है, and इसके बाद we saw instant uptick in the prices of crude oil. So OPEC plus में 13 OPEC countries भी हैं, and then there are 10 other major oil producers part of OPEC plus. So 2022 October में भी कुछ reduction in the production announce किए गए थे, and this is the latest decision. So ये decision लिया क्यों जा रहा है, मतलब क्या reason है इसके पीछे कि the countries, especially the oil producing countries, they are taking such types of decisions. So उनकी official statement से जाए अगर हम, तो उससे समझने की कोशिश करें, तो decision to cut the crude oil production, it was aimed at supporting the market stability. So ये main reason दिया गया है कि market stability को support करने के लिए oil का जो production है उसमें reduction किया जाएगा. But क्या ये really markets को stable बनाएगा कि unstable बनाएगा? So ये definitely हमारे mind में जरूर आएगा. And Feb 2023 में Russia, it has announced it would cut the crude oil production by 500,000 barrels a day after the Western countries, they have capped the price of its crude as a response to the war in Ukraine. So since Russia के ऊपर कुछ sanctions impose किए गए हैं, price oil cap impose की गई है, तो Russia ने in response ये बोला है कि we would be cutting down the oil production as a response to the sanctions that have been imposed on them. Especially it was imposed on them because of their actions in Ukraine. So उसकी वजह से जो बाकी countries है उनको definitely नुकसान हो रहा है. And definitely oil production में cut होगा तो prices increase होंगे, and according to some reports the production cut, it is a way of punishing the short sellers who had bet on the oil prices fall. So short selling की हम पहले भी बात कर चुके हैं जब Hindenburg Research Group का पूरा इशू न्यूज में था, तो शॉर्ट सेलर्स को पनिश करने के लिए ये डिसीजन लिया गया है कि शॉर्ट सेलर्स क्या करते हैं, पहले दे सेल एंड उसके बाद आप बाय करते हो. So that's how it is a possibility and it's a reality. Capital market में आप पहले चीजें बेच सकते हो, उसके बाद आप उनको खरीद सकते हो जब उनका prices और गिर जाता है. So that's how, that is another way आप कैसे profit कमा सकते हो. But here जिन्होंने crude oil पे basically obviously आप शेयर मार्केट में ट्रेड कर सकते हो इवन क्रूड. सो वहां पे जिन्होंने पहले सेल किया होगा इन दी एक्सपेक्टेशंस कि आने वाले टाइम में क्रूड ऑयल प्राइसेस और ज्यादा गिरेंगे, तो उनके लिए ये पनिशमेंट हो गया कि ऑब्वियसली उन्होंने पहले सेल कर दिया एंड वो वेट करेगी प्राइसेस गिरेंगे, बट अभी इस डिसीजन की वजह से प्राइसेस दे हैव इंक्रीज्ड, सो उनको लॉस होगा इन अ वे. एंड so G7 and all European Union member states, they have taken a decision that will hit Russia's revenues even harder and reduce its ability to wage war in Ukraine. So अगर रशिया कम प्रॉफिट कमाएगा, कम पैसे कमा पाएगा थ्रू देयर ऑयल ट्रेड, क्योंकि अगर हम ग्लोबल शेयर की बात करें ऑफ रशिया, सो इट इज 10% और जो क्रूड ऑयल है इट इज कमिंग फ्रॉम रशिया. सो यहाँ से अगर उनका रेवेन्यू, उनकी इनकम कम होगी तो जो फंडिंग है ऑफ द रशिया यूक्रेन वॉर उस पे भी इम्पैक्ट होगा. दैट्स व्हाट द वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड बिलीव्स. And then possibility of an incoming recession because western world में US यूरोप में two banks they have failed recently, हमने देखा इसकी वजह से global financial concerns भी कुछ हो गए हैं. So Silicon Valley Bank था, Credit Suisse था, so they failed recently. And then in March 2023, oil prices, even they have slipped 1% to 2-week low level. And this was on the speculation of recession and therefore a reduction in the oil demand. So ये दो reasons थे कि क्यों crude oil prices गिरते हुए आ रहे थे, क्योंकि western world में we are expecting कि recession हो सकता है and उसकी वजह से demand थी जो oil की वो कम हो रही थी. So experts believe that cutting the production, it will lead to increase in the cost of the crude oil in the international market and a sudden jump in both the Brent crude and the US West Texas Intermediate, which is WTI crude prices, both leading global oil benchmarks in the world. It was observed in the wake of the announcement of the decision to reduce the production. So उसकी वजह से we are seeing the prices, ताकि जो obviously oil companies अपना profit maximization पे ज़्यादा focus करेंगे, तो उसके लिए this decision has been taken. And USA ने इस decision को unadvisable tag किया है. Apart from that, how it is going to impact India is the important thing for us. So as per the World Energy Outlook 2021 data, India, it ranks third in the world in the crude oil imports after China and USA. So India is heavily dependent upon crude oil imports. Domestic production इतना ज़्यादा नहीं है. So तब हम बात करते हैं कि we should shift to renewable energy sources. So India, it ranks a distant 21 in the crude oil production and 26 in the natural gas production में. So यहाँ पे हमारी इस केस में भी रैंक दी गई है. So disparity in the two rankings shows कि हमारी we are increasingly reliant on the imports to meet our energy needs. So अगर हम crude oil import कर रहे from Russia, which is recently हमने ये भी बात करी कि हमारा पहले share of importing crude oil from Russia was around 1%. Right now it has spiked to 20%. So this was more than the combined imports from the conventional suppliers like Iraq and Saudi Arabia. So Iraq और Saudi Arabia का भी अगर हम total crude oil imports करें into India, तो उससे भी ज़्यादा रशिया का शेयर हो गया आज के टाइम में. And at the same time, supply from Iraq and Saudi Arabia, they have touched 16-month low. So Saudi Arabia और Iraq से we are reducing our dependence. वहाँ से हम कम import कर रहे हैं, रशिया से we are importing more. So Russia's increased share in India's crude oil import, it is a direct consequence of obviously this war, and USA and countries in Europe, they have decided not to buy the crude oil from Russia in a bid to isolate the country. And in this decision, however, it has provided India with an opportunity to buy the Russian oil reportedly at discounted rates. So that's how India इसका फायदा उठा रही है. So ये recently एक amendment की गई है in the IT rules 2021 कि अगर press information bureau किसी content को, किसी news article को, if it tags it as fake news, so उस social media intermediary को it would have to take it down. So ये recent change किया गया है. And so इससे related कुछ concerns भी आए हैं कि ये amendment basically centralization को increase कर देगा. And apart from that, obviously it would lead to more concentration of power in the center. And जो right to freedom of free speech and expression है, उस पे भी it would be having certain kind of impact. So that's there, and it would also potentially bypass the process statutorily which is prescribed under the section 69A of IT Act 2000. So basically concentration of power in PIB hands. So ये कुछ concerns है. And moving forward, so global headwinds की वजह से इंडिया की GDP ग्रोथ स्लो डाउन हो सकती है, क्योंकि ग्लोबल डिमांड डिक्रीज हो रही है. एंड अगर हम फाइनेंशियल सेक्टर की बात करें, बैंकिंग सेक्टर की बात करें, तो रिसेंटली 2 banks दे हैव फेल्ड. सो उसकी वजह से इंडिया की ग्रोथ पे इम्पैक्ट हो सकता है एज पर मिस्टर पारिक. सो इंडिया, इट हैज इनफ टेलविंड्स इन टर्म्स ऑफ रोबस्ट डोमेस्टिक कंजम्पशन है. इंडिया में, जिसकी वजह से वी आर सेइंग कि आर इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ इज रेजिलिएंट, political stability है, we have vaccine security, we are moving ahead on digitization front, there is robust regulatory system as per the HDFC chairman. So he says कि certainly obviously global जो factors हैं उनकी वजह से कुछ impact होगा but majorly impact नहीं होगा, and domestically जो हमारी growth है that is driven by the domestic consumption based economy. तो इंडिया की जो प्रोटेक्शनिस्ट एविएशन पॉलिसी है उसकी वजह से कंज्यूमर्स को हायर एयर फेयर्स पे करने पड़ते हैं, and India's reluctance to revise the bilateral seat allocations for the international flights despite the demands from some countries reflects an old protectionist India that could result in others retaliating and restricting the access for the Indian airlines, which in turn would hamper India's ambition to develop a global airport hub, cautioned the Directorate General of the Global Airlines Body, IATA. See, the International Air Transport Association, so their head is cautioning about some of the concerns regarding India's civil aviation sector. And so with the ambition to expand, it will come the need to allow more competition into India, but you are not going to get the response from other countries if you have a restricted bilateral. So in turn, obviously, दूसरी countries भी अपनी capacity फिर at the same time restrict कर देंगी. So that's how जो हमारा ambition है, we would fail to meet that. So finance minister is going to host G20 in US and attend the IMF and World Bank meetings. So that's there, and जो important outcome होंगे हमारे लिए वो ज़्यादा important रहेंगे. Coming to Financial Express, Mudra loans, they are at an all-time high. So Mudra scheme जो है, that is boosting entrepreneurship, and loans, they are getting fatter. So number of Mudra loans which have been sanctioned stands at 408, and the amount of Mudra loans that has been sanctioned is 23.2 trillion rupees. So इस graph से you can see कि कितना sharp uptick we are seeing in terms of the amount जो sanction किया जा रहा है, and small ticket Mudra loans, they are also increasing. Apart from that, there's a sharp jump of 27% year on a year basis पे अगर हम provisional data की भी बात करें, number of loans भी increase हो रहे, sanctioned amount is also increasing. And so जो मुद्रा loans provide किए जाते हैं, they are in 3 categories. There is शिशु loans जो सबसे छोटा amount है, ₹50,000 तक के loans को आप शिशु loans बोलते हो. किशोर loans हो गए above 50,000 up till ₹5 lakh, and then there is Tarun category above 5 lakh and up to ₹10 lakh. So 10 lakh is the maximum amount that you can get in the form of loans under this Mudra scheme. And 40% जो loans issue किए जा रहे हैं, they belong to the शिशु category, तो small amount के 40% है. And 68% जो loans दिए जा रहे हैं, they are being given to women entrepreneurs. So that's a good achievement. And 51% दिए जा रहे हैं, they are to the entrepreneurs belonging to SC, ST, OBC categories. And so this is basically pointing towards easy availability of the credit to the budding entrepreneurs of the country. And this has obviously led to more innovation and sustained increase in the per capita income. So spot the deep fakes. Recently, an artificial intelligence generated image of Pop in a white puffer jacket went viral, and how to know if similar stuff is fake or not. So it appears that this picture is very real, but artificial intelligence is what it can do. So it appears to be like a real image, but it's not. It's a fake image. And so they are created using artificial intelligence. They are artificial intelligence generated image. And obviously इसकी वजह से definitely social tensions भी हो सकती हैं, कुछ concerns religious sentiments if it hurts. So ये कुछ challenges भी है when we talk about artificial intelligence. And then again, at the same time, Elon Musk भी, these are also artificial intelligence generated images. So the rhetoric and the reality. So every Sunday we get an important article with important insights from P. Chidambaram sir. So we always discuss these articles. So let's dive into today's article. So once upon a time, RBI, it was the go-to body for all matters economic, and it was considered a cloistered institution, inaccessible to ordinary people, but independent and wise. So पहले ये thought process था, what he has written and what he feels. So its reputation, it was unsullied despite many spectacular failures, and the most notable failure was its inability to spot the financial scandal that stockbrokers and the bank officials had brewed under its nose and robbed thousands of crores of rupees 1992 में. And recent failure was its connivance with the government when the government embarked upon the reckless adventure of demonetization 2016. And RBI has also been called wrong on many occasions in setting the interest rates, but this is a par for the course among the central bankers. So nevertheless, he says, I believe that the RBI, it is a treasure house of knowledge, and in particular, the Department of Economic Analysis and the Policy and the Department of Statistical Analysis and Computer Sciences are the most reliable storehouses of data की अगर हम बात करें. And apart from that, so RBI's bulletin for the month of March 2023 has the regular essay on the state of the economy. So it carries the usual caveat that views expressed in this article, they are those of the authors and do not represent the views of the RBI. So this is despite the fact that the authors, they belong to the Department of Economic Analysis and the Policy, and they are led by Mr. Michael Patra, who is currently the Deputy Governor of RBI. So he says कि उसका definitely कुछ influence आता है. So going by the rhetoric. So what concerned the author of this article was that the essay, which should have been a reasoned and sober assessment of the economy, it has made rather extraordinary claims about the state of the economy in India. So यहाँ पे कुछ वो extraordinary claims the author is mentioning. So the first is underlying strength of this expansion. It is evident in the persistence of elevated inflation. Second is, while the strength of the labor market, it has come as a surprise, it is actually reflecting the compositional shifts which are happening in India's labor market, and leisure, hospitality, retail, and healthcare are hiring at levels completely offsetting the jobs shed by the tech-heavy companies. So अगर हम बोलते हैं कि IT सेक्टर में layoffs increase हो रहे, layoffs किए जा रहे, तो on the other side जो लेजर है, हॉस्पिटैलिटी एंड रिटेल हेल्थ केयर बेस्ड इंडस्ट्रीज हैं, वहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा इससे भी हायर रेट पे हायरिंग की जा रही है. सो ये जो रिपोर्ट है बेसिकली, जो ऐसे RBI सो कॉल्ड इंडिपेंडेंट जो ऑथर्स है वो पब्लिश करते हैं, बट उसकी जो इम्पोर्टेंट एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी क्लेम्स है जो पी चिदम्बरम सर को लगता है, they have been mentioned here by him. So India has emerged from the pandemic year stronger than initially thought, and year-on-year growth rates do not reflect this pickup of the pace because by construction they are saddled with the statistical base effects की वजह से we are not seeing कि रिकवरी जो हमने सोचा था उसी लेवल पे हुई है. And what if at least 50% of the rupees 35,000 crore of tax relief which is proposed in the union budget, it is used by the taxpayers for the consumption and it adds to the private final consumption expenditure. So एक question है ये, जो टैक्स रिलीफ अनाउंस किया गया है, अगर उसका 50% भी कंजम्पशन के लिए यूज किया जाएगा बाय द टैक्स पेयर्स, सो डेफिनेटली उसकी वजह से जो डिमांड है दैट वुड बी इंक्रीजिंग, इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी इंक्रीज होगी, ग्रोथ इंक्रीज होगी. तो दिस इज जस्ट अ क्वेश्चन, जस्ट एन एक्सपेक्टेशन कि व्हाट इफ अगर ऐसा रियलिटी में किया जाता है. सर कुछ चीजें हैं एंड so then the author is talking about कि real economic situation क्या है. So main concerns were inflation, unemployment, layoffs, sluggish demand, and subdued consumption. So this is here it's talking about कि reality तो ये है, report में कुछ भी बोलो, and जर्मनी ने क्लियर कर दिया है कि कोई लार्ज एक्सपोर्ट ऑर्डर्स नहीं प्लेस किए जाएंगे अंटिल नेक्स्ट ईयर. सो यहाँ पे जो ग्लोबल डिमांड की वीकनिंग हो रही है, जो ग्लोबल डिमांड कम हो रही है, उसके कुछ एग्जांपल्स मेंशन किए गए हैं. सो बोथ मर्केंडाइज एक्सपोर्ट्स एंड इंपोर्ट्स दे हैव कॉन्ट्रैक्टेड. जब हम इंडियन ट्रेड की बात करते हैं, बोरोइंग कॉस्ट भी हाई लेवल पे चल रही है बिकॉज रेपो रेट 6.5% पे है एंड आने वाले टाइम में वो और ज्यादा इंक्रीज हो सकते हैं. New jobs they are not being created urban areas में, and जो all India unemployment rate है that is 7.4% as per the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy. So what do you want to believe, the statistical and the verbal spin of the RBI's monthly bulletin, या जो आपकी eyes, ears and instincts definitely reality देखते हैं, reality witness करते हैं, so आपको क्या believe करना है, it's completely up to you. Finally, coming to Indian Express. So Assam is set to attempt a world record Bihu performance where there would be 11,000 artists performing the Bihu dance together. So Bihu Nas, it's a dance which which is performed in Assam state, and there are different types of it also that are performed. And so Bihu Nas, it's a defining feature of the Rongali Bihu or the Bohag Bihu, which rings in Assamese New Year. So that is the importance to it. So focus on Gaganyaan, ISRO making leaps to meet 2025 target for this manned mission. So human rated launch vehicle. So India's heaviest rocket launch vehicle Mark III, it has been identified as the launch vehicle for the Gaganyaan mission. And all systems in this LBM3, they have been reconfigured to meet the human rating requirements and pristine the human rated LBM3. So it uses two solid boosters, the core liquid fuel based stage and the cryogenic upper stage. So human rated solid boosters were used during the March launch of OneWeb satellites also. So ये कुछ important facts हैं which can be asked in the exam. So rhetoric and reality are already discussed and taken up in the Financial Express. So repeat. Coming to the economy, so PM Mudra का जो achievement है, we have seen जो loan amount sanction किया है, number of loans dispersed किए गए हैं, that is at all-time high, and there's a sharp jump of 27%. ये भी हम देख चुके हैं, दीपक पारेख सर says कि इंडिया की जो GDP growth it will slow down due to global headwinds, but at the same time he also talked and mentioned about the resilience of Indian economy, which is basically जो domestic consumption led demand है, इसकी वजह से our GDP growth rate is being driven. ग्लोबल पेज पे भी जो डेवलपमेंट्स चल रही है, ताइवान स्ट्रेट में we have mentioned that, and so that's all for today. Thank you for joining in Sarkari, and there's also a PDF link so you can go through that once, and do subscribe to our channel and hit the like button for this video. Thank you so much for joining us.